30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful what is it? It's Thursday in Nashville, Tennessee. It's also about 80 degrees late in February. Man, we are fortunate. The first thing I want to do is thank the folks at the Franklin Marriott because they have allowed us a room to broadcast from. Tonight is a big night for a lot of us. It's the 57th annual awards dinner of the National Football Foundation Middle Tennessee chapter. And during this first hour, we're going to do quite a few things that are involved with the evening's festivities. Let's first head up to the plateau and say hello to Coach Watson Brown. Watson, what do you think of the old Tucks?
George, I'm telling you, you're getting your days mixed up here early. That Tucks may be a little tight around your neck there a little bit. Loosen it up where your brain can work a little better.
Wow.
But you do look nice. I mean, you look store-bought, to be very honest. You look really nice.
Look, I want you to say hello over here to my right. We're going to have him officially on after the update. Chris Casa Santa tonight receives the Rick Region Volunteer of the Year, and I cannot think of a more worthy recipient. You talk about a guy who has put his city and the love of sports ahead of his own personal gain. It is that guy right there. You owe me $1.
There you go.
How you doing?
Pretty good, thank you.
So you're ready for tonight?
I'm ready for it. I'm quite honored to have the award.
Well, we're thrilled that you're able to be here. This is going to be a very special night. So, Billy, what do you think of the Tucks?
George, I think it looks great. It does look a little tight.
Yeah, I know.
But you'll bounce back from that. It's nothing like a little early adversity on the show.
Here's the deal. Okay, when I left Street Tuxedo, I basically forced them to get this on me because I don't know about everybody else, but I don't know how to do a tux. And I've tried it before, and Watson, it has been a disaster.
Oh, I was crazy. Brenda bought me one, George, way back that I've had for years that I wear. So that means I got to completely dress myself. And the tie we had was a tieable tie, bow tie. So can you imagine?
Oh, God.
I mean, I'm an idiot. And then, as you well know, I'm kind of one-handed in a lot of ways. So Brenda would have to tie the tie. Many times it's been a disaster, and I'd go right up till game time and not be dressed proper. So
I love it. Okay, we've got an update. We're going to do some of the same stuff. 3 o'clock hour will be Lee Fowler joining us, one of the two college basketball insiders, and there's a lot to talk about, believe me.
There sure is, George. We'll get to a lot of college basketball in that second hour, but we're going to start with Aaron Rodgers. He has officially escaped his darkness retreat, and it's officially ended. He was partially underground in a Hobbit-like structure with 300 square feet of space. It included a bathroom, a queen bed, a meditation-like mat on the floor. So he enjoyed himself.
In honor of his darkness, go. You can turn the light back on.
We still got the window with a little bit of light.
Watson, what is wrong with him?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just anxious to see how this all plays out, George. Was this the last straw with the Packers, or are they going to try to hang on with him another go around?
and said, what the hell is wrong with this guy?
It'd be a little bit like the pot calling the kettle black. There's been a lot of people say I've been in the dark for a long time. So I'd say I could relate to him a little bit.
What's item number 2?
Item number 2, George, we go to the NFL. We stay in the NFL. Sean Payton has hired Vance Joseph, former Broncos head coach. He's returning to Denver. Peter Schrager has reported he's going to run the Broncos defense for Sean Payton.
Okay, I want to ask Watson about that. Watson, he was the head coach in 17 and 18, and now he comes back as defensive coordinator. The only other one I can think of is Dave Campo with the Cowboys. And it just seems like a weird deal to me.
Yeah, and I think the weirdness has got to be on if he can handle it. You know, I'm sure the fans, they'll be if they're good, they'll be all right with him. If they're bad, they're going to get on him again. But can he handle that? I'm not sure I could have gone back to the one place that I was fired and have done that. So I think it's more on him, George, than anybody else, because by the time he gets going, it's either going to be successful or not. And everybody will forget that if he's successful, believe me. And if it's not, he's going to hear it. He's going to hear it again. So I think it's on him. That's a tough deal. He's got to be a tough-skinned guy to want to do this again.
Given Denver's defense, though, it's going to be hard to screw that up.
Yeah, I mean, they're good.
They're really good.
They're good. Sean has a way of playing to his defense well. I think he's one of the play callers in the NFL that thinks that out and thinks that way. And so I think it's a good hire. I think he's a very good defensive coach. But again, I think it's all on him, George. If he's okay with it, he must be, or he wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
Up next, we got some college basketball to talk about. Vanderbilt snapped their 5-game win streak last night against LSU. Tigers win 84-77, and that's not the loss you want if you want to continue your tournament hopes.
No, this pretty much dashed it. What did they lost? 14 in a row in the SEC?
Yep.
You know, Lee Fowler had told me earlier yesterday, Watson, that he had a bad feeling about it. And I was like, nah, you know, LSU's awful. But the truth of it is they were the better team really from about midway in the first half until the end. They deserved to win.
Yeah, they outplayed them. If you're watching the game and didn't know the records, you would have thought LSU had the better record of the two. That hurt, George, really, really, really bad. That one hurt. And I don't know. It's never over because if you made a long run in the SEC and you win the rest of them, but I just did not think that was possible. I just did not. And I was absolutely shocked by the game. I watched it off and on throughout the game, and you're dead on. LSU looked like the better team last night.
Vandy couldn't guard the pick and pop all night. KJ Williams feel like he hit about
35 points, 10 rebounds. He killed him.
Basically, what LSU is Murray State South.
Yeah.
They got about 4 of their kids.
It stunned me. How have they lost 14 in a row?
I don't know.
They've got some talent.
I know. That's a strange deal.
Can you imagine they hadn't won since December.
They started off
game
well.
Since December.
Yeah, the last time they won, Aaron Rodgers was in light. He was in lightness.
And that's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
George, last night Brandon Miller had 41 points for Alabama. They won in overtime against South Carolina. And after the game, Nate Oates made some more comments about the Miller situation. He said, I'm not here to make excuses, but I want to make it clear that I didn't have the details from the hearing that morning. This is the initial press conference. He said, I used poor choice of words. So Oates was apologetic, but he seemed a little bit nervous.
A little? He looked like he swallowed a hand grenade.
And I thought that was a real bad statement, George. Why do you make any comment if you don't know what went down?
Yeah.
And he says, I didn't know all the details. Then what in the world are you saying anything till you know what all went down? I thought that was a worse statement, to be very honest.
Mm-hmm. When we get to 3:00, it's going to come up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The athletic director, Greg Byrne, went on an ESPN podcast, and I thought he handled himself very well.
Yeah.
He had good answers to, questions that needed to be asked. I don't know. Nate Oates looks unbelievably uncomfortable.
You got it.
And the team did as well.
Yeah,
Everybody but Brandon Miller played pretty bad. But George, last piece, Preds are in San Jose tonight. 9:30 puck drop. It's desperation mode at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of us know where this is headed or where it needs to head, which is they've got to be very active sellers at the deadline. They have got to get themselves some draft picks. And I personally believe they have an organizational decision that they have to make, and that is, do they trade UC Saros and get a boatload of stuff for him?
And George, you remember some of those early crowds for the Nashville Predators in the early years, how bad some of those crowds were, at least initially, when you thought, is anybody going to catch on to this? That's what it felt like their last home game, that the crowd was really bad.
It filled in later. One of the things is downtown has gotten tougher to navigate. Boy, that was a nice way of saying that.
Mm-hmm.
As it's gotten tougher to navigate, crowds arrive later and later. They just do.
Vandy has the same issue down there too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a citywide issue. So let me kind of tell people a little bit of what we're going to do. This guy will be on with us in just a few moments. Chris Casa Santa, receiving the Rick Region Volunteer of the Year award tonight. If anybody knows anything about the growth of our city in sports, it's this guy, because he has worked every last event under the sun. Trust me, we'll get into that after the break. And then our Middle Tennessee chapter president, former Vanderbilt football player, Wally Conyers, will join us. Then Lee Fowler at the top of the hour, college basketball insiders. Then certainly we will get into the Alabama situation, which is just getting weirder and weirder. Stay tuned. From the Franklin Marriott, this is the George Plaster Show.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Scholar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Again, my thanks to the folks involved with the Franklin Marriott. Sorry about the block there. They have allowed us to do our show here today. First time in 2023 we've taken the show on the road, but get ready. We're going to do a lot more of that as the year goes on. This is where our 57th annual National Football Foundation Middle Tennessee Chapter Awards Banquet will be tonight. And it is really an honor and a privilege. This is either for me like year 19 or 20 that I have done this. And every year it's very emotional. It's very touching. There's some great people who get awarded and noticed in the football community. This guy is one of them. Casa Santa will receive tonight the Rick Region Volunteer of the Year award. And it was my belief, because I was the one that nominated Chris, that this is what Rick Region would have wanted. Rick passed away about 2.5 years ago. And when we created the award, I kept thinking Chris Casa Santa is the one that he would want to win the first one. Chris, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, George.
When was the first time you volunteered for a sports event in our city?
Wow. Maybe the early 90s or something like that. It's Rick gave me a call, and I made the mistake of saying yes. And the rest is history.
And he was a character.
Oh, yeah.
Look,
yeah.
we've all had some fun with that. You know, I nicknamed him in my old radio days America's Guest, and he truly was. You were heavily involved, if I remember, with Rick in the 96 referendum that ultimately brought the Tennessee, the Houston Oilers to Nashville. Give me some thoughts about what you remember of what essentially was a political campaign.
Yes, and Rick, at first, I thought he probably did not think he needed much help. He thought he could make a commercial or two, vote yes, and it was over. But then he found out that at the time, there were probably just as many people that were against the move as there were for it. And he had to change his strategy. He had to get a lot of people to help. We had to work with him to get the signs put up that says vote yes and things like that. So, and Rick was really fundamental in doing all that stuff and working with the Titans.
What a lot of people forget, and especially a lot of new people to the city, if that referendum had not passed, they weren't coming here.
Exactly. And Rick knew that. And Rick was the type of guy, he wanted to see Nashville grow, whether in sports and industry, whatever. He wanted Nashville to grow, and he would almost do anything.
I'm going to give you your
him.
first broadcasting tip. Keep the hand off the table, because that microphone picks up all of it. If Rick were here, he'd be like, come on, Chris. So what all did you all do? That's a remarkable story, because when you all decided to be NFL Vote Yes, what I remember was it was something like 58% against you, 42% for you. And by the time your all's work was done, the vote flip-flopped on May the 7th, 1996.
Yes, and probably the most happiest man in Nashville was Rick Region, because it was the fulfillment of his dream. But I mean, that man worked hard. He would call me up. What do you think we need to get some hats, Chris? Yeah, that would be good. You think we need buttons? That would be great. How about signs in the yard? That's more important than any of them, Rick. And so we had to work through all that, and Rick was very instrumental. I mean, I can say right now, if it wasn't for Rick Region, there'd be no Tennessee Titans.
Oh, I'm in total agreement on that. For all the fun that I've had at his expense, both when he was alive and after he passed away, that's a fact.
Yes, it was. And then another thing that sometimes people don't remember about Rick is, along with you, George, Rick was very key person in keeping the Predators here.
I roped him into that one. And
Well, he liked it.
oh, he loved it. He loved it. So, you know, when I went through, and I probably ought to pull up what we have written of all the various events that you have done. Let's start with the Music City Bowl and some of the things that you've been involved in as a volunteer.
Well, there's been a lot of things I've done with the Music City Bowl. I've been able to work with the Music City Bowl since the first year. And my wife and I, for about the last 15 years or so, 20 years, have been the host of the VIP room, shaking hands and kissing babies of the coaches and athletic directors and that type of thing. I've been active with the halftime show, getting the kids onto the field and stuff like that. There's probably a lot of things I just can't remember that I've done.
Give me one or two people in those bowl settings that for you were the most interesting, or maybe after you met them, you found yourself rooting for.
Wow, good question. Well, let me see here. We liked the Auburn people when they came down maybe 4 or 5 years ago. That they're always outgoing and stuff like that. I can remember working with Kevin Steele. Kevin was great. We also had in the early goings, we had, believe it or not, he was very, very instrumental, was the coach of Virginia Tech. The very
Frank
first
Beamer.
time. Frank Beamer.
Yeah.
And I believe that was the first game that Virginia Tech came here, and they just walloped Alabama. I think Mike Shula was the coach there.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
In a sleet storm, the worst weather you could ever imagine. I felt so bad for Scott Ramsey. The game was at Vandy. It was a midweek afternoon, like a 3:30, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah, it was a nightmare, but along with that, it was Rick Region who the day or 2 days before, Rick.
Get closer to the end of it. Yeah.
About 2 days
Beautiful.
before, Rick was called because there had been a big ice and sleet storm.
Oh, I remember it well.
And Rick was able to round up some people, and we were shoveling the field at Vanderbilt for the Music City Bowl. And unbeknownst to us, we forgot at the time, the NFL had a game there that like 2 days before, the Vikings
and the Oilers.
And I think Vanderbilt didn't know what to do. So basically, we were cleaning the field for not only the Titans game, which were the Tennessee Oilers at that time, and for the Music City Bowl 2 days later.
Man.
Billy, it was the year that the Vikings went all the way to, I want to say to the NFC championship game, and Atlanta beat them. They were like 15-1 when they came in here. Randy Moss was, that was his heyday. And the stadium, was kind of a sheet of ice. And then, of course, the bowl game, same kind of deal.
Oh, yeah. And it was just very interesting, but we got it done. But that was one of my early memories of this, of the bowl game.
Did you ever deal with Bobby Bowden?
Yes, we did. And when Florida State came, and Bobby, what you saw on TV, a good old boy, Bobby was that and off the field too.
You remember, I think, as Rick tried to keep the Clinic Bowl alive, and I know you were in on that. We did a dinner that Bobby Bowden spoke at, and it drew over 1,000 people to Lipscomb's Allen Arena. And I'll never forget at the end of it, he said, "Are you the reason I'm getting to fly home tonight?" And I said, "Well, I've got a little something to do with it." And he gave me a big old high five, and he goes, "I like your style." I was like, who cares about my style? Your speech was awesome.
Yeah. And as I recall, Bobby had something like he left Tallahassee like at 2 p.m.
Right.
Flew down here, and he didn't leave here at about 10 o'clock because people who wanted to have pictures taken with him and autographs, Bobby stayed to the last one and then got on the plane. It was probably midnight before he got back to Tallahassee, 1 in the morning. And I would not be surprised if he was in the office by 6:30, 7 o'clock that next day.
What was, what I remember we did a radio remote from the U.S. Figure Skating Championships. The arena had just opened, and, the Sports Council is trying to get volunteers to help. It's a massive deal. What were you doing that day?
What I did for that during that tour, back in those times, they needed transportation haulers to pick up the people at the airport and take them back or move them from point A to port B. And I was working with a really great volunteer for the Sports Council, Mike Laffey. And Mike was great, and so I was working with him, and they kept us busy taking the people back and forth to the airport and out to dinner or whatever during that time. And as I said, that Nashville was new to having events like that. That was, as you said, the very first one that opened up the arena.
Did you see it coming, this explosion that we now have?
Not really. And probably the reason why is the lower Broadway was someplace you did not go. High crime and stuff like this. And in fact, in the early 80s, when they made the first convention center, which is across the street from Bridgestone, they intentionally did not put a door on the Broadway side because they didn't want people going out there due to the problems that they were having. And then about 10 years later, when they did a renovation, it was out there. But that says a lot. And by that time, Bridgestone was there. There was no Bridgestone before.
Watson, I've hogged this so far, but I know you're listening, and it's really interesting, the stuff that he can lay on us. You got anything for Chris?
Chris, what would you say through all of your time has been your favorite thing to do? Because you've done so many different things. What would you put up toward the top of the list or at the top of the list?
Well, I think one of the events that I really enjoyed the most, and believe it or not, it was not an event I volunteered in, but the man that's named after the award, Rick Regan, did, is I ran in the first Music City Marathon. And it was really a nice event because I ran marathons before. And, you come around mile 24, 25, 26, when you're heading home, it really gets kind of tiring. And
that's an understatement.
Well, yeah, but it worked real good. But I crossed the finish line, and guess who was the first person there greeting people to run? Rick Regan.
America's guest.
America's guest.
He loved that event. What was it about that event? I know they honored him posthumously a year or two ago at the finish line. What was it about that event that he loved so much?
I think in all seriousness, what he loved the most about it is because this has turned into kind of like a semi-national event. And Nashville was going to be on the news, on the television, in a positive side. And Rick Regan was always looking to see how we can make Nashville positive.
Keep going, Watson.
Chris, we talked about Rick a lot. I did not know Rick well. I didn't get back to town, but I feel like I do now for the last 3-4 years of just listening to people. Everybody I talk to says one thing about him and explain this about him and why it's that way. You couldn't tell him no. That's right. Everybody that talks about Rick is he just had a knack to where you could not say no. And if you dare even hinted you were going to, you were eat alive till you said yes. Just talk about that a little bit, because that's the one thing, other than being a great guy and love the city, but that one thing I hear from everybody.
Yeah, it was funny. As I said at the top of this interview, when I was asked how I got involved, and I said I made the mistake of saying yes to Rick. And once you got to work with Rick, you know, he had a very I don't want to say a demanding sense, but he had a type of a sense that if he says go over here and just take tickets, you went over there and took tickets, even though it made sense or not. Rick had that type of voice in him and a type of respect that people had for him. And that's you can't say no when a person's like that.
The other thing that would happen, Watson, on whatever event that you might be involved in with him, once it was over, expect a phone call the next day about 7:45 with his critique.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And sometimes it was earlier than 7:45.
He probably
and it wasn't limited to just one call.
Oh, no. We were going to be in for like 3 or 4 times. In fact, he wanted me to volunteer on something one time. And he called, as I said, 8:30 in the morning, whatever. And I told him. And after I hung up, my wife said to me, "Oh, you forgot to tell him this. You think you should call him back?" I said, "No, honey. He's going to call me 3 more times today, and I'll remember it."
Well, I'm telling you, to have a guy like Rick in this city, in the city of Nashville, is very lucky. You don't find, I've been in a bunch of cities. I've lived in a bunch of cities. My wife and I've traveled around through different jobs, and you don't find people like that in every city. And I just think the city's been unbelievably lucky. And same with you, Chris, that you've been there through all of this. Talk a little bit. Last thing I'd have, George, is you've been here, and George too. You all have been here through when it was nothing in the city in a sports way except Vanderbilt and Tennessee. I mean, that was front page headlines every day. I know when I was coaching here in the 80s, we were front page headlines every day, good or bad. And now to see how this city has grown with the professional sports, thing I've always said, and I'd like to get you two to comment on it, thing I've always said that's just the perfect storm is when you take all these athletic events that have come to be through these last, 40 years now, and you tie that into music through country music in this city. It's a perfect storm. And it's just very few things ever fail, because I think this city has got some things that other cities just can't claim. You two talk about that a little bit, because both of you have been here from back when I was here in the mid 80s to where it is today.
Well, yes, it's changed so much. And as you mentioned, when you're here, Vanderbilt, Tennessee was all we had. And Nashville was not really noted as a sports town at that time as it is now. And it's funny because you look in the Daily Tennessean and things like that Vanderbilt and Tennessee are on page 3 and 4 of the paper now compared to when they were on page 1.
I think Watson said it beautifully. If you look at the events that we've had as a city that have been just knockout home runs, music is always a big piece of it. And, another city, and I'm not going to pick out one, but would die to have one of the 10 acts that Scott Ramsey may have gotten to be involved in the NHL All-Star game or whatever it may have been. It's always music. Watson's right. It is always music.
Oh, yeah, all the time. And if you even think back when they had the NFL draft here, that was based around music. And we had the biggest crowd that they've ever had at a draft.
What did you do at the draft?
I think my title at the draft was captain of the apparel distribution committee.
Geez, you saw George every minute, didn't you?
I saw him, and I had to pass out hats and jackets and stuff like that. Freebies.
Why didn't you bring some today?
Yeah, right.
We'd have been in.
If it's free, it's for me.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm thrilled we've been able to pull this off. I know in my heart that Rick is up there smiling because you were the person that he would have wanted to be his first namesake recipient. Congratulations. I hope you enjoy this tonight.
Thank you very much, George. Watson, thank you.
Oh, congratulations, Chris.
Okay.
Chris Casa Santa has joined us here at our broadcast site. And again, thanks to the folks at the Franklin Marriott for allowing us in this room to kind of set this up and give you a little bit of the flavor. When we come back, our Nashville, Middle Tennessee chapter's president, Wally Conyers, will join us. We'll talk about what's going on tonight and what all has gone on in 57 years that in some ways has been a pretty good secret, but we want to kind of change that. Stay tuned. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. We're back on this Thursday afternoon from the Franklin Marriott. In about 3 hours, we'll have our 57th annual National Football Foundation Awards dinner for the Nashville, Middle Tennessee chapter, which I'll brag here is one of the strongest in the country. Our president, Wally Conyers, a former Vanderbilt football player in the late 90s, joins us here at our broadcast site. I want to get you close to that microphone. I want them to hear you. How you doing?
All right. I'm great, George. It's nice to be with you.
Yeah. So how did you get involved in this?
One of my former teammates, Ryan Alds, was a board member. And to be honest with you, I was not familiar with the local chapter. I knew the national organization through the College Football Hall of Fame, but Ryan invited me to attend a board meeting 6 or 7 years ago, and became involved from there. It was a great way to kind of reconnect, I guess, with the high school football game and celebrate all the good things about amateur football.
Yeah, at times, and I'm to blame for some of this, we have not been the best at getting the word out about what we do. We've given an awful lot of scholarship money over the years. We have honored some people who absolutely deserve to be honored, Chris Casa Santa being one of those. Talk to me about what goes on tonight and some of the awards, and we'll show a couple of graphics as well on this.
Yeah, it's certainly a well-kept secret. It's a great event. We typically have about 500 people in attendance. We recognize a number of adult honorees and high school and college student athletes. We really go wide with the recognition. We honor one football player from every high school in Davidson County and each of the counties that adjourns Davidson County. So all in all, that's 70 student athletes that we recognize. We give further recognition to 5 student athletes from the high schools that meet certain criteria, and we award scholarships to them. Recognize a lot of great citizens for their public service, their commitment to the game. Today, we're thrilled to have Kevin Dyson, certainly well known here in the Nashville area for his Music City Miracle play and for his time with the Titans, but also has gone back to school, earned a PhD, and is very committed to public education here in Nashville. So that's really what we're all about, is celebrating people not only for what they accomplish on the gridiron, but also what they do in the classroom and more importantly in the community.
I'm not sure I can do the Dr. Kevin Dyson. I mean, this was my wheelhouse of sports talk radio, and obviously knew Kevin back in the Music City Miracle days. But doctor, man, that's like really.
Yeah, I know he's very proud of that accomplishment.
He should be.
And he should be. And he's just really a great story. Has that notoriety and will go on forever. I mean, the Music City Miracle is something that really defines Nashville and the Tennessee Titans. And, I think we'll be talking about that for 50 years. And what he's done, though, with public education is just as impactful to this area. So,
Watson, here's one that I know will be near and dear to you. You've attended this banquet, Lord only knows how many times over the years. Your former boss had an award named after him, the Roy Kramer Contribution to Football Award. And I think we picked one this year that is so worthy and so deserving. Murphy Fair.
Watson, I think you're muted.
I was muted again, George.
Gotcha.
Wally, I can only take George's voice for so long, then I have to mute it for a while. So
wow, thanks for the positivity.
But no, what that's fantastic. Murphy has been special. Gosh, long way back, George, when you and I were first starting in some of this stuff, and he's contributed in so many ways, and always done it in a classy way. I wish I was there tonight. Give him a hug, shake his hand for me, and tell him congratulations.
Absolutely. You got anything for Wally?
Wally, I can remember in the mid '80s when they asked me to come and speak. Had a speaker. I don't know if we still do that now, but we had a speaker in those days, and I spoke at one. And what it was then compared to what it is today is unbelievably how this thing has grown. And I'm just so proud of it. The other thing I'd say to you, Wally, is I've been in so many of these through different places I've coached and gone to the different events that they have. This one is top of the line. I don't think I could compare it to any of the cities where I've been, Birmingham, Cincinnati, Houston. I've been a lot of these, and this one is top of the line. I'm telling you, and just congratulations. Thank you for what you're doing. I know how hard it is to take over something like this and be the president of it. And so thank you, but congratulations on one of the top foundations in the United States, in my personal opinion.
Well, thank you for those comments, Watson. One anecdote, George, last year, Clark Lee, the new Vanderbilt coach, was at my table, and he maybe came in 2 or 3 minutes after dinner was served, but he kind of looked around and said, I had no idea that I was walking into an event this big. He said, I thought there were going to be 10 of us in a library eating
Rubber
a small
chicken.
dinner. Yeah. And I mean, it's a big room. There are 500 people in attendance. And, you know, it's really a great opportunity to celebrate all of the teams in Middle Tennessee. And, you know, that's high schools and colleges. So.
One of the people, and he's not here, but I believe he's watching right now, is our good friend, Bob Hyde. Bob's been under the weather. And first of all, we want him to know that we're thinking about him. The amount of work that man has done to elevate us from here to up there, it's unbelievable.
It really is. And Bob, if you're listening, we miss you and we hope you're doing well.
And we'll be talking to you in an hour.
That's right. To do some last minute walkthrough and corrections, but the amount of labor and organization that goes into this event, the communication that's required, it really is a grand effort. And Bob, thank you for spearheading that this year and for so many years leading up to this year.
One of the things that normally happens, there is normally each year an absolute tearjerker. We get together as a board and we really try to think tank some things, and that has led to some stories that maybe the general public doesn't know, that you just want to sit there and cry.
Yeah, that you know, this year Dayron Grundy is our Admiral Lawrence Award winner, which is the top high school student athlete in Middle Tennessee. He's a senior at Springfield High School. Tremendous story. Raised by his grandmother, kind of, you know, single parent household effectively. Straight A student body class president, starter on the football team, very accomplished athletically, member of the Air Force Junior ROTC, just a leader all the way around. And you look at a kid like that, I mean, just such a tremendous story. He's not going to be a 5-star recruit. He's not someone that is going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated, probably, but just a tremendous kid, a tremendous leader in the community, and exactly who we want to celebrate and recognize tonight.
5-star human being.
That's right. That's right.
Several years ago, we honored Tim Shaw,
Mm-hmm.
the former Tennessee Titan, who has had to deal incredibly courageously with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And that was right up there for me in 20 years of it, 20 years that I've done this. That one, I don't know that I'll ever forget that.
Yeah, that's certainly memorable to me. You know, Tim was a great Tennessee Titan, played at Penn State, and you know, really sad to see him diagnosed with ALS, but very inspiring to hear his message of positivity. And I mean, he's still fighting. You know, it's really a great inspiration, and you know, that was a very impactful speech that he gave.
You know, Watson, what this night often does for me, because we all do it, we all complain about stupid things. You know, somebody, you know, looked at me wrong, somebody this, somebody that, and all of a sudden you realize, you know, there's some people out there dealing with a heck of a lot more than we are.
No, George, that is true. But the one thing you guys do, or we do, if you want to say that, in Nashville, in this chapter, I've probably been to a dozen different one of these through the United States. This is the only one that I've sit through and been a part of, or whatever, that takes these high school kids and honors one from each school in a student athlete way. not an athlete way. It seems like when I'd go these, some athlete would be getting an award, some college athlete would be getting an award for being the MVP of this or that. This one is so much different than anything I've ever been to. And I think it leads to stories like you guys are talking about right now, and some that I've sit there and listened to. I can remember being there. I don't think it was the night I was being honored. I think I was just there. And when Bonnie Sloan got honored, George, and
yes,
I'm telling you,
it
was unbelievable to me what he had accomplished with the deficiencies that he had to handle. And so you're exactly right. But I think it starts with your guys' philosophy of bringing these high school kids and families in and honoring them, really not for football. It's much more being a student, being on the teams, what they meant to their teams, what they've meant in their communities. And I think it's led to this, and just congratulations on that, because I did not go to another one in my coaching tenure over 40 years that did anything like this in any state.
Yeah, make no mistake, there's certainly some talented athletes in this group. I would probably estimate maybe 10% of the guys are kind of Power 5 scholarship football players. There's probably 10% that would play at a Division III type school.
Yeah.
And then, you've got a 80% approximately that they've played their last game, and they're kind of on to becoming citizens and full-time students. But I'd say every one of them was an accomplished high school athlete in their own right. So
absolutely. And let me say this, Wally, just to make everybody feel good about this. When you sit out there in the audience and watch these kids get these awards, the look in their eyes and how proud they are, and they're proud of being at the school they've been at. Their families are so proud of them. Man, it's a night that these kids never forget. They just don't get many opportunities like this to be recognized for things they should be recognized for. And I'm just telling you, I sit there many years and watched, and just the look in their eyes and how excited they are, how proud they are to be getting the award that they're getting. It's just a feel-good night that was created because, in my opinion, guys, over the philosophy of how you guys have wanted this to go down.
Watson, I'll give you one last story here, and I don't know that Wally has ever heard this, and I think, Wally, it may have been before you got involved. There is an award tonight that involves Watson's college coach, Bill Pace. We made the decision as he was dying to include Ray Bickerstaff in that award. And Ray Bickerstaff, obviously, Watson has a background with Ray Bickerstaff, but Watson, we timed it. He had become fishing buddies with C.M. Newton. And so Coach Newton and I timed it where Coach Newton was going to go visit him essentially on his deathbed. He was going to turn the radio on to my show, and we timed it where he got to hear that we had decided to put his name on that award. And, that was really a cool moment to be able to share that with him. He died, I want to say, just a few weeks later, but at least he knew how we felt about him.
That's really neat. And honestly, George, well deserved. Ray Bickerstaff was a big figure in Nashville for a long time. And of course, how I feel about my former coach, Coach Pace.
Wally, how many dollars have we distributed over the years, if you had to guess?
Oh gosh, if I had to guess, it's probably about $100,000 in scholarship funds would be my guess. And each year we give money to 5 student athletes who are voted on by our awards committee to receive additional recognition. And it is really a difficult process. We have to go through.
It's splitting hairs.
It really is. And there are 70 very qualified people who are nominated, and to narrow that down to 5 is really a a tremendous task. But at the end of the day, you really feel good about the 5 that are awarded these funds and this extra recognition. So have a great group this year. As I mentioned earlier, Dayron Grundy is our Admiral Lawrence Award winner. We're also going to recognize Cesar Danyon, who is a star player at Mount Juliet High School and is going to play collegiately at Yale next year. Tremendous student, 2-sport athlete there, has a very impressive tape if you watch him play, and just a great list of involvement in leadership activities at his school. Browning Trainer is a guy from NBA that's winning an award. He tremendous football player and leader at NBA, straight A student taking a very rigorous course load. He was a wrestling state champion last weekend, won the state championship in the 195-pound weight division. So he's a tough kid.
Yeah, we don't need to mess with him.
Yeah. Cameron Ellis is a guy that we're recognizing from Overton High School here in Nashville. Standout offensive lineman. Again, great academic record. Also is a leader in the fine arts department, performing arts specifically at Overton, has been involved in a lot of stage productions and really well-rounded and an impressive kid. Preston Scott from Stratford High School is another. He great resume, coach's son, really heady player, tough kid. Tore up his knee very badly last year. His career, his future was very much in question, and he came back, had an outstanding senior season, was voted MVP of his team, and just really a inspiring story there. So we've got a great group, and we're really excited about recognizing these kids. And there's, for each of the names that I went over, there are
20 more right behind
them. There's a lot of them right behind them that are just as deserving, we feel. But we're excited about tonight. Kevin Dyson, Murphy Fair, some of the others. We've got a great group and really excited for the program.
Thanks for coming in here and sharing why we are so excited. Look forward to the banquet.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward as well, George. I'm going to catch up with you with my black tie and don't want to be outdressed.
Yeah, you do that.
Thanks for having me, and look forward to tonight.
Wally Conyers is the president of the Nashville, Middle Tennessee chapter of the National Football Foundation. We thank him for taking the time to join us here at the Franklin Marriott. After the break, stat of the day, and then Lee Fowler, college basketball insiders, a lot to talk about. Stick around.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
We are excited to announce that the Music City Saints baseball program will host a spring golf scramble for their Baseball with Buds scholarship program. This program is in memory of a program supporter who passed away last summer. The scholarship program ensures every kid with the ability and drive for the game of baseball gets caught up due to the cost of competitive summer baseball. Tee-off is at 8 a.m. on Saturday, March the 18th at Ted Rhodes Golf Course in Nashville. The scramble will include 18 holes of golf with a cart provided and unlimited food and drink. Registration for each four-person team is $400. That includes drinks during the event. They will also be providing lunch for each team. They're limited to 25 teams, so sign up soon. If you can't field a full team, individual registration works also. Finally, if you're unable to take part in the golf scramble on Saturday, March the 18th, but you'd like to support the Music City Saints, you can help their program with a one-time donation. If you have or know of any businesses that would like to become sponsors of Music City Saints baseball, feel free to contact Chan with any questions or to register. The phone number is area code 270-300-4155, or you can go to musiccitybaseball24@gmail.com. Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back. Final segment of this first hour, even though it's a few minutes past the hour.
We've cheated.
We have cheated a little bit. It's time for Stat of the Day. It's brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee. And let's see what we got for today. We're going baseball. St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals organization has won 3 Cy Young Awards since 1968. 2 of those awards belong to Bob Gibson in 1968 and 70. Who was the last St. Louis Cardinal pitcher to win an NL Cy Young Award?
Watson, the obvious would be to just say Adam Wainwright, but I don't know if that's it or not.
I don't think it is.
Okay, then help.
I don't know why I say that. I just don't think it is.
Yeah. Adam Wainwright, just an incredible ambassador for the Cardinals, was a former Brave, traded straight up for J.D. Drew. How'd that one work out?
Not very well.
Not real well.
Who is the – I grew up a Cardinals guy. I mean, because my dad was on the radio constantly.
I don't think
There was
Steve
a
Carlton.
Give me the
won
name,
one.
George. There's a tall, thin guy that pitched for them and had one phenomenal year. And then really, I'm not sure was great after that. And I cannot think of his name.
Well, he's thinking about
if you said it, I'll say that's
the
it.
middle block. Rick. Help me, Rick.
I don't
left-hander.
No, this guy's right-handed. In my opinion, he's right-handed, big, tall.
Boy, I don't know.
Long arm, lanky.
This is going to hurt. So it's not Adam Wainwright.
No.
Who is it?
This guy had one great year.
And I think this is the guy Watson's thinking of. It is Chris Carpenter.
Carpenter, sure.
Chris Carpenter.
Yeah. Yep. He was a Tony La Russa guy.
Kind of a
and had one year, and it really wasn't.
Yeah.
That's the one I was thinking. I just didn't know. I couldn't come up with a name.
Good question.
Yeah.
Not a very good answer.
Credit to David. I guess you call him our intern there for that question.
David, good stuff. Way to start it. Okay, so we're legally now into the 3 o'clock hour. which means that we say hello to our buddy Lee Fowler, who's never seen me before in a tux. Lee, how are you?
George, you're looking better than I've ever seen you. I'll have to say that for you. And if I'd had about one more minute, I was going to come on with a tux on. But I love watching too much to make him look like a thorn in between.
Well, thank you, Lee, very much.
That's
I'm not
awful.
sure, Lee, we still don't look better than George without the tux on. So
we would have to give that out. We'd have to let people have a chance to answer that. And I think we'd come with a good answer.
Got to straighten the tie. It's hard to keep these ties right. So, Lee, let's start with this. And I'm going to ask both of you this. You had this bad feeling yesterday. You told me that LSU, you were worried, was going to be laying in the weeds for Vandy. And yet at the same time, Vandy's the team that's got everything to play for. They've got, all of a sudden people noticing them nationally. And yet it was LSU that looked like the team. Well, first of all, they looked like the better team. They kind of looked like they wanted it more. Why would that be? What is it in sports that creates this after a team's had a big win like they did against Auburn?
Well, George, I think the main thing is I had a standard rule when I was an athletic administrator and a coach. When the fans think that you're going to win, you better look out, because the kids think they should win, and mentally it's just tough. And I told Jerry last week, I said that game you'll earn your money in that game, because they look at that team and they're 1-12 or 1-13, and that's a tough thing to go in and be 100% prepared for. And I really felt like LSU has been playing better. They've been within 8 to 10 of pretty good teams. And last night they made everything they looked at. They made all their free throws. And when that happens, there's no pressure on them. They hadn't won a game in the league. So it wasn't like they felt like if they lost, something bad would happen. So I just think it was a perfect storm for Vanderbilt to if they didn't shoot it well, and they didn't shoot free throws like they'd been shooting them, and I thought they didn't play that poorly. They just didn't make the shots that they had that were open, and LSU did.
Watson, did you ever have scenarios where you said, I think we're better, but I'm worried that I'm not getting through to them?
Oh, you have at least in football, you have at least one of those a year that you get the feeling, and you kind of may know it even before the season starts sometimes, just where certain things would fall. I really believe from doing this as long as I have, that when you play somebody that's got everything to gain and they're just having fun, trying to get the monkey off their back, but really just everything to gain. And then the other team is, for the first time in 4 years, is being talked about. And getting on that plane and the pressure of now got to go win the game that everybody thinks you're supposed to win. Everybody. I'm not sure anybody in the country would have picked LSU. I don't know if that's fair, but I think that was the case. And I think as the game goes on, to win those kind of games, to me, you got to get up quick and get everything's positive for you right out the gate. The longer something lingers and lingers and lingers, I've always said the more pressure is on the team that's supposed to win as it lingers further into the game. And I think they missed some shots that they've been making in the last 5 weeks and missed some free throws. There's that inside pressure that they may not even know there's there, but I just think it is. It's human. It's the humanism of the game, man. And it's hard to get rid of it. I promise you, Jerry knew long before he got on that plane, oh, geez, these guys are better than I want them to be when I watch his tape. As soon as he put it on, he said, you feel that. You feel it when you're watching the tape of who you're going to go play, George. And sure enough, it don't let you down most of the time.
Lee, we've spent a lot of time this week on the Alabama situation. Brandon Miller, a local kid. You've, like Watson, you've had the resume that says you've been a coach, you've been a player, and you've been an athletic director. So give us some thoughts on what is going on where you think Alabama has handled this well or where you don't think they've handled it well?
Well, it'd be hard for me to say from where I sit in Franklin, Tennessee, whether they've handled it well or not. I will tell you that I had a situation. We were getting ready to play North Carolina, and we had a player that got arrested on a Friday night, and I had Saturday to decide whether he could play against Carolina on Sunday. We knew a lot more than anybody in the public knew, and we allowed him to play. We got a bunch of abuse for it, and the next summer the case got kicked out that what we thought we knew and we're pretty sure we knew actually was the truth, and he was not punished and shouldn't have ever been arrested. But I've thought a lot about this, Georgia. I think that, first of all, you got to do the right thing for the young man. You got to do the right thing for your team. You got to do the right thing. And I'm not talking about right or wrong about winning. I'm talking about the right thing by what you know and the information you have. And you got, of course, the school's reputation. You've got all these things going through your mind. And it tickles me when ESPN comes out and writes these articles, how they messed up and they did it wrong. And ESPN's been running nothing but that for about 2 days now. So they're selling advertisement like crazy. Then they tell you do it wrong. And then when it comes back and it was the right thing, you did the right thing by the young man because you know things that you can't talk about in public because they're still behind the scenes. The one thing you would hope the Tuscaloosa Police Department or the DA off record with Alabama where they can make a decent decision. And I would think that happened. They're not breaking the law. They're just letting these people know what they know. And, it's different if they're hiding stuff, but I'm just saying if they've got information that they know that 6 months from now would be great to know now, I think that that's something you don't know behind the scenes, and Alabama may know that, and that's why they made the decision they made. So I would have to say with everything they knew that president, that AD, and, it's funny that some people talk about wondering what Saban would do. I imagine Saban could have been in those conversations because I think Alabama's Alabama, and I'm sure somebody talked to Saban about the facts and that sort of thing. So I think they made the best decision. I don't think at all it was to win the game or to win the conference or any of that stuff. I think they tried to make the right decisions for the institution and the young man.
Watson, it keeps being said that Brandon Miller is not a suspect in this case. Couldn't the Tuscaloosa Police Department help him and help Alabama, if that is truly the case, to come out a lot stronger and say, we've said it, and here's why we're saying it?
Well, they could. It's not what police departments do. And so it's a little out of character when that happens. So you'd have to convince them to do that. And lawyers get involved in that, George. This when you start talking to the detectives or whatever, one thing that I've messed up on the first one of these I ever had as a coach is I didn't let the young man, I didn't advise him to get a lawyer immediately. And that ended up hurting him. And I've always since then, no matter if he is innocent, guilty, I don't know, whatever, I always tell those kids, man, make sure you have good legal advice in what you're doing. The only thing that I feel uncomfortable with, Lee, through this whole thing, because I've been saying, and George knows this all week, I said, I can't comment. I don't know enough. George would say, should he have been suspended? I said, I don't know. It would be absolutely wrong of me to take a side either way because I don't know what's gone down. Believe me, they do. The one thing, Lee, I was surprised. When I've had these, I've had them, you've had them. I've had them as a coach. I've had them as an AD. Every time something of this seriousness comes, and I don't know if I've ever had one this serious, but I've had serious situations. The president, the AD, the university lawyers, and the coach were all in meetings and involved and make these decisions together. Everybody thinks this is a coach's decision. When it gets this serious, it's not just a coach's decision. A lot of people getting this, but I would never, Lee, have let my coach go out there and make statements the way Coach Oates did, and it kind of got him in trouble. We've all been together, and it's all been, okay, here's the way we're going to handle this. And the ones that will speak about this is the way we'll go about it. I was really surprised, Lee, when Coach Oates just came out on his own and spoke about it, and then said the next day he kind of was sorry for what he said, but I didn't know all the facts when I spoke. That really surprised me, because I know the protocol, and George will tell you that's what I said earlier in the week. There's a protocol to these things, and I was very surprised that Coach Oates fielded all this on him. Now, Coach Byrne spoke. I mean, the athletic director spoke yesterday, did a fantastic job, by the way. Handled it really well. But I was surprised when Coach Oates went on his own and just took off and said some things that really kind of came back to haunt him a little bit.
Yeah, I could think that he trusted the kid and what the kid had told him, and believed him and thought that was true. The one thing that I would like to know, we'll all know it at some point, does Miller own a gun? Has he ever been seen with a gun? Guys that hang around with guys that have guns are usually, are into guns, or at least have a chance to be. And that's the thing that really made me wonder the most, is what all was going on. This is horrible. The young lady died. Pistols are horrible things, especially to take when there's alcohol or any drugs involved. But, it's a tough situation. I'm sure there's not been a lot of laughter and cutting up at the University of Alabama the last 2 or 3 or 4 days, and especially since it's gone in the public now with what's going on in the trial, and all of it hasn't come out yet. The DA is not going to say everything he's got, but at least the DA did. What I read is he said that she said we don't have enough to press charges on anybody else. So that tells you a little bit. But there are always people that they call in to these talk shows and talk about, he shouldn't have been there. The gun was in his car, so that makes him an accessory. Well, I don't know if he knew the gun was in his car until the young man was texted and came to get the gun. So, it's definitely, if nothing else, poor judgment. And that creates an issue for the university and the team and everybody else.
Okay, you all kind of talk through this a little bit. This is just me as an outsider in this case watching this. Greg Byrne yesterday handled himself beautifully. You listen to it and you're like, okay, those answers make sense. What I think is hurting and why this thing isn't going to go away anytime soon, bless his heart, Nate Oates is a really good basketball coach, but he is miserable in this scenario. And he leaves you wondering things that you didn't wonder before he started talking.
Well, I think that usually you have one person do all the talking and just say, I'm coaching, I'm the basketball coach. People above me, I'm involved in it, but people above me are the ones that make decisions. You need to talk to so-and-so. I mean, police departments do it every day. You'll see the same guy in Nashville talking when there's a bad scene or a murder or a car wreck or whatever.
Don Aaron.
That's where it needs to be. And unfortunately, he is out of his element. I mean, he's a coach. He was a school teacher. But, sometimes you get away from that environment and you want to talk and make everybody wants to be liked, and he wants everybody to like him for the decision they made. But he's not the one that should be talking. And I'm hopefully he won't do any more talking except, coaching his team.
Yeah, and Lee, usually, as you well know, the lawyers representing your university get involved in this in so many different ways, and they'll tell you, we don't want you discussing this. And so I've had to do that before, to where I said, look, we've dealt with this. We think we know all the pieces here. We're still looking into things, but I'm not the one that's going to speak about this, and I'm told not to. That's where I was saying I was surprised that they let him do that. And he's a young guy. You and I now have been around so long. We've been through so many of these type things. It would not faze me to have to go out and speak about something like this. But somebody that's dealing with this for a first time, wow, that's tough. As I said, when I was 28 years old, I dealt with one of these, and it was tough. I didn't know what I was doing at that point, and ended up not giving good advice to a player. And so I just think you learn through experience. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I hope and pray that what they think they know, Lee, is what they know. It comes out to be the facts. But I know that also the longer these things go and there's more things found out, that sometimes they find out more that you didn't have a clue about, they didn't have a clue about. I'm talking about law enforcement. And then it makes everybody kind of look bad. But sometimes it's just the way it is. You got to deal with what you know at the time. And that's why, Lee, I've tried to say, I can't say should he be suspended? Should he not? I don't know near enough to know that.
That's right. And the worst thing about the business we're in, George, is no matter what comes out in the end, there'll be people say, well, you still got rid of him.
Absolutely.
You knew all that, you should have got rid of him. And most of those people probably don't like Alabama or think Alabama's, doing the wrong thing. So, you can't win. But like I go back to what Watson and I talked about, you got to try to do what's best for the young man. I mean, he made a mistake. And sometimes you make mistakes, you don't get a second chance with a mistake. He's getting that second chance, and hopefully what they know now will they feel like they made it for the right reasons and for the young man. And I know for a fact they didn't make it just for Alabama to win basketball games.
No.
Lee, let me make sure of one thing that I think I've heard you say. If it were you, the university would, whether it's the president or Greg Burns, say to Nate Oates, you're not talking about this ever again.
Yes,
You're just going to say, on advice of university attorneys,
and that's the piece, George, the advice of the attorneys. It's not just the president saying, we don't want you to speak. It comes from the attorneys that do that, or at least the ones I've dealt with. That's what happens. That's exactly right. And he should just not answer any questions about it anymore. I'm a basketball coach here. We've made a decision collectively. If you want to talk to somebody about it, here's the school attorney, or they may hire an attorney. Who knows what they'll do? But it'll be counsel, and that's who you would like to speak out, and you shouldn't say anything else about it.
After the break, we'll get into Tennessee's woes in recent games. Are they fixable or are they not? From the Franklin Marriott and the site of tonight's 57th Annual National Football Foundation Nashville, Middle Tennessee Chapter Dinner. Stay tuned. We're coming back.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood.
Justin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
Well, this will be the one and only time you ever see me in a tux. Let me just say what I've thought all along. They're uncomfortable. We welcome all. Do what?
George, I just wanted you to feel
Look at that.
Look at that.
I love it, Lee.
Very nice. So is that a clip-on?
No, well, clip around. It goes around your neck, but it clips, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think you tied yours.
Oh, I can promise you I didn't.
I mean, I know BGA is a higher academic institution in Vanderbilt, but I don't think they taught you how to tie a bow tie.
So you think I'm an idiot?
No. I think you were well educated, George, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes, thank you.
You had the opportunity to be well educated.
Look at Watson's look as he was saying that. You're pitiful. No, I'm sitting there looking at that look of yours. Billy's laughing. Actually, both of y'all have got a really interesting look.
I got nothing to say. I mean,
nothing. There's nothing to say.
The proof's in the pudding. That's all.
I'm telling you what. We've known him for 50 years, and we're
just let it be. Just let it be. Let's go on to something else.
Okay, fine.
This is not going in the right direction.
No, let's do. Is Tennessee's situation fixable, Lee?
Tennessee's situation is making shots, and they haven't been making shots, and they defend well. And yes, I mean, I think they'll. To me, they had a good stretch in the middle of the year where they made their shots, and they are as good as anybody in the country when they do. Will they get back there? Who knows? They seem to be looking around, looking at each other, and coaches. A telltale sign I always think, and Watson would be tickled this, is when the head coach starts listening to his assistants, who he'd never talked to much during the games until the bad stuff started happening. Then you start talking to your assistants before you go into the timeout. But I mean, they're a good team. They're a very good team. They're great defensively and offensively. That if they make shots, they can beat anybody in America, which puts you in the top 10 to 15 teams. But you know, they never looked pretty doing it, but they were good because they could stop people. And so I think, yeah, I mean, I think they'll win some more games, and I think they'll be competitive in the SEC tournament. And I think they're at the point now where their back's against the wall, and they're going to have to start figuring out as players, we got to do what coach says we do. We got to get on the same page. So wouldn't be surprising to me if they aren't having a team of only players talking about things and trying to get things together. But once again, they got to make shots. I mean, Kentucky's starting to make shots. They were struggling like this, and now all of a sudden they're making jump shots, and it cures all ills. So definitely, I think they're a really good team. They played really good schedule, maybe the best in the country, and so they're just kind of going through a time where they're struggling offensively, but I think they'll be fine.
So, what buttons does a coach push if he can look himself in the mirror and say, "Look, they're just not hitting shots. It's not about effort. It's not about this. It's not about that. They're just not shooting."
Well, I think you just want them to relax. Let's just go play. The old saying is, let's go have fun. We're not having fun. We're thinking about before you shoot it. You're thinking whether you should shoot it. Let's just go have fun. And that's when things are going well for you, that's really easy. When they turn, it's really hard to figure out, am I the one that coach doesn't want taking this wide open shot, or is one more pass what he's talking about, and then you're passing it too much? And so let's quit talking about it. Let's just go out and play. We know what we're supposed to do. We've been practicing for 180 days now. So all we have to do is go out there and have fun, and let's do that. And then it's going to, one of these days, go make every shot, make every free throw, and then it'll be like it never happened.
Okay, let me try Kentucky for a minute, because, Lee, I've got a different take on last night. I saw little spurts of good, followed by little spurts of what's gotten them in trouble this year. And I walked away from that one saying if Castleton had been healthy, Kentucky goes down at Florida.
Well, probably so, George, and I think you're 100% right. But teams like Cal has that are very talented players, all of them are going to be NBA draft choice, they think, when they come out of high school. You know, it's an interesting – watching teams is really interesting, because what happens is they win a couple of three. Now the fans aren't on them. They feel like they're going to the NCAA again. They're not on the bubble. And all of a sudden, those guys get ahead 4 or 5 points. Now they're going to take their shot. They're going to go get their points. And then it gets tied again, and they back into the – and so it's just a constant situation where you're trying to get everybody going in the same direction, pulling the cart in the same direction. And so unfortunately, it doesn't always happen overnight, because some guys are going to feel like, well, we're winning some games now. Now I can go show the NBA what I can do. And they don't talk about it. They don't tell anybody about it. They just come out in the game and start doing that. So if you have enough depth, you sit them down. If you don't, you kind of live through it and talk to them. And so it's a chemistry thing that, number one, Kentucky's not as talented as they have been. They don't have the shooters that they've had in the past. But I think they're playing well, and they can do it in spurts and still beat most teams. But you're right, Castleman. I mean, Saturday night here at Vanderbilt, I would say that Florida will have trouble beating Vanderbilt at home if Vandy plays without him. I mean, it's unbelievable. In the middle of a year, it'd be like coaching a football team, and you lose your quarterback 7 or 8, 9 games in the season. I mean, it's just tough to change everything and decide what you're going to do against this team that just played you. You know, and it was a dominant game inside of both teams, and all of a sudden you don't have your dominant guy inside. So they're playing well. I mean, they play hard, but it's just a different Florida team than it was a couple of weeks ago.
Is your tie comfortable?
My tie's not, George, but it made me look so much better than you that I want to keep it on. I could go get the coat and really knock it off.
Watson, that was as cheap a shot as it gets.
George, you know, I don't have to take all of them, do I? We can bring Lee on, and I can kind of sit back and just smile, cross my arms, and
really, did you hear what he
over
said?
a while?
I did.
I don't have to do all of this.
It was very hurtful.
Watson's in a nice little spot here.
He is. He's just sitting there. What
smiling.
He's hoping is that we beat the hell out of each other, and he can just come in and
what's
get the leftovers.
What's the old saying? A rose between two thorns is what.
That's exactly what I am today, babe. I'm just sitting back and smiling.
Okay, Lee, give me one last thing to think about. That after this is over, that those people that are watching say that Lee Fowler is one sharp cat.
How is Texas A&M 13 or 14-2? I think is the best question that I can leave you with. I mean, those people, if they win another game or two, they're going to play for the championship. And it's hard for me to figure out how they've won all their games. They're just not very talented, but play as hard as anybody I've ever seen.
Lee, it's the Buzz Williams bow tie effect. That's what it is.
Hey, it's working for George.
Might as well keep it going.
I don't know. It's definitely not my favorite.
He's taking that off right after he leaves stage tonight.
God, at 10 o'clock tonight. Watson, anything you want to leave Lee with?
No, all I'm going to say, what have I been saying for the last 2 weeks? Don't forget about the Big Orange. I'm telling you, Their leader and their best scorer, other than Vescovy probably, is Josiah Jordan James. And when he comes back, they're different when he's on the floor. I'm telling you, they're different.
They are.
He is their leader from everybody in what I hear in Knoxville. Don't forget the Big Orange, because everybody's on them. They're going to forget about them, and then all of a sudden they get in the tournament. This might be the reverse for Coach Barnes, guys. I'm telling you, because he's always been great in the season, not as good in the tournaments. Look out.
Well, it'd be good if we got back for 4 or 5 games before you get to the tournament. But I think they're a good team. And if they make shots, you're not going to beat them.
I heard Josiah Jordan James was cleared to play last game against A&M, but they didn't play. He didn't play, so I don't know what was going on there.
I don't believe that. If he was cleared to play, he would have played. He's still limping around a little bit, and maybe they want to get him completely well before they put him out there. But if he was cleared to go, believe me, Coach Barnes would have wanted him on the floor.
At least sparingly, get him 2 or 3 minutes here, 2 or 3 minutes there.
Yeah, he would have played in the game.
Yeah.
Lee, thank you for taking the time to come on with us.
Thank you, George. I am so impressed today of you and your ability to dress up in middle of the afternoon too, watching. It's not at night. It's middle of the afternoon.
I know. He had to have help, though.
Yep.
2 fine academic institutions, Battleground Academy and Vanderbilt.
That's right.
I know you're sitting there going, how the hell did he get in either one of them?
No, not true, George. I think there's no question about your ability to what would you say, Watson, to maybe be overlooked.
Overlook some of your navigate. He can navigate his way through anything. Just leave him a little opening, and he'll figure out how to weasel in there.
There's no question about that. I'm sure, George, did you graduate with honors from either one of those places?
I graduated with a diploma.
Oh, that was the one where they told me that I graduated. It was an honor to graduate. It wasn't.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Say it was an honor to get him graduated.
And I majored in the same thing, summer school.
There's nothing wrong with summer school.
No, there certainly wasn't. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Good luck tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, after the break, we have the plaster bet of the day. Yesterday, if you were looking to make money, 50-50. Stay tuned.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East. And their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Welcome back in. Final segment on a Thursday. Final day for Watson this week. So we'll see. Watson, you playing some golf at all this week? I know you played earlier.
I've been out one time and loved it. So
man, today
couldn't go today. I had Miss Brenda had me busy today, so a little sore subject, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Today's beautiful again.
How sore subject was
Today's
it?
Prettiest day of the week.
George is wondering about the sore subject, Watson.
How sore was it?
Well, wasn't sore at all to her. You got a little sore to me, though. So
gotcha.
Well, let's get to bet of the day. It's brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. And George, let's check out what happened last night. You got the Kentucky bet. They covered. It was a close one, though. They had to.
It was.
They had to really fight last night in Gainesville.
If Castleton had played, Florida wins that game.
Oh, yeah.
Because what happened was, with him not out there, suddenly Sheboy, who had really struggled in their first game and at Rupp, he had a field day.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have had a field day if Castleton was out there.
No, certainly not. And Florida plays Vandy this weekend, and Vandy, of course, that bet lost, unfortunately.
Yes.
But we all thought, what's up with that line? Vegas must know something. And they knew something.
So Watson, Billy texted me about midway through the first half. Vegas knew something.
Well, not really, because it should have been a plus line.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Watson.
You should have been given the points.
You're right.
That one was a surprise.
What do you got you're going out west tonight?
Yeah,
huh?
First of all, Thursday nights are a lot harder because you get a lot of the mid-majors that you may not know as much about. You've got to go out west to get the Power Fives, which, in theory, you know a little bit more about. Look, I'm not just gung-ho sold on this.
This is throwing something, seeing if it sticks.
Stanford's at home. That's the best I can tell you.
I don't
Washington State neutral site, the better team, but Stanford at home, I think, finds a way to win.
You need to find a way to win this one.
Oh, I don't.
But you're
I'm 6 over 500.
He's
123.
He's gravy right now, man. He's sitting there propping his feet up and saying, I lost one. What the heck? I mean, he's gravy. He's raking in the cash here in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, really? Am I now?
He's swimming in the dough.
I got my checkbook with me. I don't have any evidence of that. Anyway, I guess we're done. So you don't work tomorrow.
No. Do you take out a loan? If you're talking about swimming in the dough, did you take out a loan for the text? Did you go to the bank before you went to the shop?
No.
You didn't? Okay.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I appreciate so much your support this week.
Oh, it's been
really
unbelievable.
Been heartwarming.
It's been unbelievable.
Watching you and Lee gang up on me.
I didn't have to say a word, man.
That was a lot of Lee right there.
You were very supportive.
Don't say Watson and Lee.
The look on your face. The look on your face was bad.
Well, I just smiling.
No, there was more than a smile.
Oh, I just had a flash, smelling the roses, as I say.
Listen, enjoy your weekend. They begin serving dinner at the home at 4:30, so you should be able to.
I'll be there early. I want to get it nice and warm when I get it. So,
see you.
See ya.
Behave. Billy, thank you for the good work in helping set this up. You and David did a wonderful job on this. It went about as flawlessly as we could expect.
It went pretty well. and
Yeah.
Nobody saw my face, so that's even better.
Well, you know what? I wasn't going to say that, but tomorrow, Herm Edwards will join us for his weekly Friday visit. And then Mark Griffin to talk a little SEC basketball. We got plenty going tomorrow. See you then.